Interlochen, Michigan, sits between two lakes, but the bigger story is what happened between two eras: timber and tourism, rail smoke and band music. In the beginning, Interlochen was not built as a quiet retreat. It was built as a working point on the map. The name itself tells you why the spot was chosen. The village is wedged between Duck Lake and Green Lake, a narrow strip of land that made travel, shipping, and later vacationing practical. Before the roads were paved and the summers were scheduled by camp calendars, this place turned on the sound of trains. By the end of the 1880s, rail lines reached the lakes as logging pushed north. Within a year, another line arrived, and the two crossed in what is now downtown. That crossing was not an accident. It was an answer to a basic need: move wood out, move supplies in, and do it fast. You can still feel that early town in the street scenes: a dirt road, small storefronts close to the edge of the street, utility poles marching away from the depot. It is not a wilderness postcard. It is a town doing its daily work. Not far away, the work looked rougher. In winter, the mills ran with steam rising into the cold air. Logs lay stacked like cordwood for a giant. One postcard names the Wiley Mill. Another shows the scale of the cooperative works that turned hardwood into barrels, using the same rail logic that shaped the depot. Even a 1908 County Atlas directory lists a superintendent tied to the Wiley Cooperative, a small but telling sign that this was a known employer, not a rumor. Then comes the choice that still surprises people. In a region defined by cutting trees, a lumber company decided to spare a stand of pine along the lakes and turn it into a public retreat. That is not how most timber companies behaved when demand was high and saws were running. But the decision created Pine Park, and Pine Park created a second future. Visitors started arriving for reasons that had nothing to do with freight schedules. They came to camp, fish, and cool off in summer. The same transportation lines built for logs began carrying vacationers. Around that flow grew the resort economy: hotels, porches, dining rooms, and long weeks of lake air. The Interlochen Center's own history places Willis Pennington's Pennington Hotel opening in 1909 as part of that vacation boom. You can see what those summers looked like. A big wooden hotel with a deep porch made for rocking chairs and conversation after supper. Another hotel, equally proud of its name on the roofline, facing the camera as if it knew people would keep coming back. But the park's survival was not guaranteed. By the mid-1910s, financial pressure and the lingering logic of timber brought a new threat: cut the spared trees after all. Local leaders started pushing for state help, and in 1917, the legislature bought Pine Park for $60,000. 2 years later, the state recognized the land as Interlochen State Park. The DNR still frames this as the moment Interlochen became a state park in the modern organized sense. The first state park claim is the kind of line that needs a second look. Michigan already had Mackinac Island State Park in 1895 after Mackinac's earlier life as a national park. The cleaner way to say it is this: Interlochen became the first state park of the newer system built around legislative purchase and statewide administration, while Mackinac is the earlier state park by date. The argument is about definitions, not pride. What is not in dispute is the effect. Once the park line was drawn, the place became a public summer ground. A dock crowded with kids and adults, swimmers in the shallows, boats nosing up to shore. The DNR description today still points to the same basics: 2 lakes, camping, boating, swimming, and the remaining old pine stands that were the original reason for protection. The paper trail captures the tone of those visits better than any narrator can. A 1931 postcard from Interlochen State Park includes a line that sounds like a wink across time. Does this look like northern Michigan to you? It is a small sentence, but it carries the point. People did not come only for a park sign. They came for the feeling of being somewhere else, somewhere cooler, somewhere quieter. By the 1920s, summer in Interlochen had become an industry of its own. Pennington and relatives opened camps, one for girls and one for boys, and the hotel served multiple roles, including as a mess hall. You see it in the horseback scenes, young riders lined up with a handler in front, the posture formal, the moment staged, the message clear. This was organized summer, not free-range wandering. And then, almost quietly at first, another kind of camp arrived. Joseph Maddy did not choose Interlochen because it was famous. He chose it because it already had what he needed: a park that drew families, camp properties that could be adapted, and a setting that felt like a reward after long school months. The Interlochen timeline marks the opening of the National High School Orchestra Camp in 1928 and lists the hard numbers. The camp opened June 24th with 115 campers, and the bowl was completed that year. Those numbers sound modest now, but they were the start of something durable. You can hear the shift in the way the participants describe their days. A 1934 message from a camp postcard talks about music study and physical work in the same breath. Setting stage, raking, sweeping, as one student put it. That mix of discipline and performance is a hallmark of Interlochen's early identity. You practiced, you worked, you earned the concert. The camp's national profile grew in the 1930s. The timeline documents radio broadcasts beginning in 1930, and it notes major performances and expansion in the years that followed. Interlochen did not skip the Great Depression, but it did not stop either. The point is not that the era was easy. The point is that the institution kept building, season by season, while many other recreational ventures folded. By 1940, the timeline shows the camp widening its ambitions, including formal additions in the performing arts and a film connection that aimed Interlochen at a larger audience. The details are less important than the signal. By World War II's early years, Interlochen was no longer just a summer park town. It was becoming a cultural destination with national reach. In the end, Interlochen's story is not a clean break from timber to music. It is a layered place. The railroads came first. The mills and cooperage came with them. Then a spared stand of pine and a public park changed the math. After that, hotels and youth camps turned summer into a business. And finally, music arrived and stayed. The reason people still talk about Interlochen is that it held on to the old pines long enough for a new identity to take root next door. In that narrow strip between two lakes, the state park and the music camp grew up side by side, each making the other stronger. Thanks for listening. Please follow us for future episodes.